got some apples in various stages. I've got a James Grieve over there that I planted in 2009 or something, which is on an MM106 rootstock, which is a semi-vigorous rootstock, which grows to about 3.5 to 4 meters. As you can see there, it's the most commonly used fruit tree for production of an awful lot of fruits. This poor little thing got eaten by a roaming herd of fallow deer on its first winter, and you can see the damage here. But at the time it got eaten, that was all that there was of the tree. And I thought, well, I can't cut that out because there'll be nothing left. So I've left it for, I think this is 3 years on, and nothing healthy has grown above that. In fact, it's pretty much dead. You've got this one that produced one manky apple on that side. So this year, because now I've got some nice growth beneath, I'm going to prune that out entirely. I have dipped my secateurs from pruning the roses just now into here for about 10 seconds. 10, 20 seconds. Could do it for 5 minutes if you've got time to have a cup of tea. That is 1 part bleach, 9 parts water. And just dip them in. The chances of transferring a disease are pretty slim, but if you do this, you just cut that out. So, I'm going to do a slightly slanted cut on that and just get rid of it. Not the neatest of cuts. Many people, if they had a herd of fallow deer coming through ruining their freshly planted apple, they would have probably dug the apple out and thrown it away. Plants want to live, and the more quirky shaped they become, the more attached you can become to them. And I'm sure with a couple of years of careful pruning, I'll get a decent crop of apples off this one. So what I'm doing here is pruning back extension growth. I'm guessing where a fruiting spur will be. Then you're trying to create an open, airy tree which has got stems strong enough to support fruit on it. Fruit tends to happen on 2-year wood. So there's older wood, that's 2-year wood, that's this year's wood. So this would be the branch that would support fruit next year, but that's not going to be strong enough. So I'm going to cut that back to 2-year wood, and hopefully this branch will thicken up. That probably is going to be strong enough. So I'm going to take, that's gone to a really weird shape, and that looks, it's a fatter bud. It looks more like a fruiting spur. So I'm going to assume that's going to flower and fruit next year. This one is in danger of crossing this one, so I'm going to cut that back to that. That one's going back to that, just into 1-year wood. A summer prune on a pip fruit is very important, and you're reducing the water shoots and you're restricting growth, because it's put a lot of its spring energy into producing its new shoots, and then you're restricting them in the middle of the growing season, and that restricts growth. A winter prune encourages growth. So you're pruning back all the old water shoots and you're cutting out branches to get more air in and to allow the flowers to be better spaced so that you'll get bigger fruits, but you're encouraging more growth. So in the spring, if you prune too hard in the winter, you'll get tons of little thin water shoots. That's all I'm going to do to that, and that's a badly shaped tree that's been horribly mutilated early in its life, but I want to keep it. And then it's very important to clean everything up at the end. Right, so I've got a James Grieve apple and a Cox's apple. They were both planted in 2009 or 2010. You can see I've pruned them over the years. But come the winter, they always get very congested. If you look up through the canopy, there are a lot of branches that have got buds on them that won't really reach the sunlight. And a young apple doesn't reach the sunlight, it's not going to get the sugars into it and it's not going to taste very nice. And I can see a few rotting apples, decaying rotting apples up in the canopy, which is very important to remove them, to remove all the brown rot from the tree by the time you finish pruning. And then I'll spray the stems with a olive oil and SB and water solution sometime during the winter. So I'm going to start by just looking for congested branches, looking for branches, as with all pruning, your 3Ds, dead, diseased and dying, crossing branches, they all need to come out. But I'm looking for branches that are within the canopy that are not going to get to the sun. So that one's going to go, that one's going to go. I'm going to take out a few larger branches. You'll have a healthier tree if you prune, and a healthy tree, I would imagine, is a better place for a bird or a bee to be. That looks like a nice fat bud. That's probably going to be a fruiting spur. It's on quite a thin stem. That's all that branch has to support, so I'm going to leave that one in place. You're trying to shape the tree in its first year or 2 years. You're trying to shape the tree, so wherever the branches grow, depending on whether you're trying to espalier a tree or fan train a tree or have a bush tree like this one, loppers, secateurs, saw, and if it's fan trained or espalier trained, wire and string. That's pretty much all you need. And a rake and a wheelbarrow for cleaning up. This is one of those pruning saws that cuts on the pull and not on the push. It's very sharp and it makes a nice clean cut. Right, I'm much happier with that. I'm finding some crossing branches up here which have got to go, some diseased or dying or dead branches which have got to go, and then these little thin branches which are never going to support an apple, so they've got to be reduced. It's very easy and very tempting to prune too much. That section of the tree I'm now done, and as I've said before, pruning too much gives you too many water shoots. I'm bored of the ladder, so I'm going up the tree because I know this tree holds my weight because I've been up it before. Well, I suppose you shouldn't climb up a tree, you should be on a ladder. Exactly, well said. There's an old rotting apple, but that's had brown rot on it, so you need to get those out of the tree if you see them. I'm thinking there's a lot more air and light in there. I've taken off plenty. I'm going to stop there. That's that tree finished.